Welcome back to the 94 podcast. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to brand new video. Match day 5 is done. This is the team of the weekend. 11 best players we select every single Monday to go and reflect on their performances. 11 players that we thought were actually outstanding. In the comment box below, talk to me. Do you think your team deserves a player in the team of the weekend? Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City. Do you think you deserve a player in the team of the weekend? So let's get into it. In goal, I've gone with Robert Sanchez from Chelsea. Chelsea really struggled against Bournemouth. I thought they controlled first parts of the game a little bit well. They had a couple of chances as well. Raheem Sterling was looking very good. The likes of Mikhailo Modric as well, I was impressed with. But in the last 20 minutes, that is where Robert Sanchez earned his money. I think Bournemouth will be gutted. They will feel very, very hard done by that they didn't actually win that game. Robert Sanchez, for me, was the goalkeeper of the weekend. You take him out of the picture, you introduce a goalkeeper like Ben Mendy, you introduce a goalkeeper like Kepa Arrizabalaga, that game ends Bournemouth 1, Chelsea 0, or Bournemouth 2, Chelsea 0. So Robert Sanchez is the goalkeeper I've actually gone for. But there were a couple of other interesting performances like you will have seen. I think Pickford at Everton, although they lost the game, was outstanding. He really was outstanding. Couple of saves against Martin Odegaard, against Fabio Vieira, against Leandro Trossard as well. I thought it was really very good. Alisson as well for Liverpool to keep them into the game, to keep them in that game so that they can actually come back and win it later. Ederson for Manchester City as well to stop the game from going 2-0. I think it was an Edson Alvarez header that he actually kept out. Actually, it was a Katzuma header that he kept out. But I've gone with Robert Sanchez. Chelsea are lucky to have a point in that game, courtesy of Robert Sanchez. Now, I'm going to play a back three, and I'm playing 3 players that were most impressive out of all the defenders, right backs, left backs, and centre backs in the Premier League this weekend. Let's go first and foremost with Kieran Trippier, because Trippier has always been one of those players that have always stood up, and I like him for one or two reasons. Number one, he's one of the players that have the experience, and Newcastle are lucky to have him. They are very, very lucky to have him, to have a player of his quality, to have a leader in their squad, but also a player who can literally change a game when he actually decides to. He's a very good player, Trippier. Very, very good player. So what we saw in the weekend, what we saw over the weekend was when they needed something different, when they needed to respond, they had lost 3 games out of the opening 4. They needed standout performance, and Kieran Trippier was one of the players that actually stood up. The next player on the list is definitely Tariq Lamptey for Brighton. Brighton, they won't end to amuse us, but their quality, the way they interchange players, the way they just bring in one new player over the other, it is still amazing. So Tariq Lamptey came in ahead of Estopian. Estopian is one of the best fullbacks in the Premier League, in Europe as well. He's one of the best fullbacks, but because he wasn't there, he arrived late from international duty, and therefore Tariq Lamptey had to deputize, and he had a very, very good game. So Tariq Lamptey, 2 assists in that game against Manchester United. He gave problems to Man United. He really, gave them a lot of problems. And on one side, Man United had to deal with Adingra. On the other side, they had to deal with Karo Mitoma and Tariq Lamptey. We know how good this guy is. We know how good this boy is. He's a product of Brighton and the Brighton Academy. He's one of the players that have, just been thrown out of the starting 11, courtesy of injuries and inconsistency. But make no mistake, there is no question about how good Tariq Lamptey is. To finalize this, we're going to go with Lewis Dunk, the captain at Brighton as well. Dunk had a very good performance. When you're playing Man United, it's to play Man United right now, it's a blessing. They are not good. They're not giving you the kind of performances that you would have thought would threaten you. But for you to go to the Old Trafford and pick up 3 points and concede just once in that game, right? Probably twice, because they had that goal that was actually disallowed. But defensively, the order Lewis Dunk makes sure that they have defensively, how stingy this Brighton side are. Manchester United, everyone will actually blame Marcus Rashford. He's selfish. He didn't actually use his chances and all things like that. I think the big question you've got to ask is, how good were these guys at Brighton? How good were they? I think Dunk is a very, very good player. Now, the likes of Van Heck as well deserve a huge shout out. In terms of defenders, you would actually consider Robertson as well at Liverpool. I thought he had a very good game, like a very, very good game, Robertson, in that one. I thought you would have considered Alexander Zinchenko as well, but we will talk about Alexander Zinchenko later on in this video. But I would still say those are the 3 best picks of the weekend: Lamptey, Trippier, and Dunk. Now, I'm playing with a pivot of 2 in midfield, and then 2 attacking midfielders, or 2 kind of number 8s, and then 3 attackers. Let's go with Pascal Gross, Brighton still. Pascal Gross has now scored 7 career goals against Manchester United. What is important with Gross is the kind of goal he scores. That is a typical midfielder goal. I think we've talked about the all-round players, versatile, can play everywhere. I've not seen a player as stretched in his limits as Pascal Gross. I've not seen a player who's got that ability to literally play everywhere and play everywhere very well. He played alongside Mahmoud Daoud in the midfield. He governed the midfield. Casemiro, Bruno, Scott McTominay, Christian Eriksen, he literally took them out of the game. And to seal that performance at the Old Trafford with a 7th career goal against Man United, it is special. It is absolutely special. And at times I ask myself in every window, why no one actually goes on to sign Gross? Because for me, he's one of the best players you've got to sign in the summer. I think, was it Everton and West Ham that were looking for a player in midfield? Pascal Gross is one of the players you've got to think about if you want to go for a midfielder. The other one alongside him is Douglas Luiz at Aston Villa. So those two, let's just include them in the lineup, right? Pascal Gross, I thought he was outstanding, and the more we see him, the more we are going to see how good this guy is in midfield. And then Douglas Luiz. Aston Villa beats Crystal Palace 3-1, scored a penalty in the 98th minute. He always does that. He always scores for them their penalties. But I think the one thing you like about Luiz is his ability to govern the midfield. His ability to literally neutralize all the opponents. Crystal Palace with Eberechi Eze and the likes of Jefferson Lama and Dokore, I think they do have they have a compact midfield. They have a really good midfield. But the quality of players like Douglas Luiz, it doesn't end to amuse me. Man City wanted him at some point in time. Arsenal wanted him at some point in time. It didn't happen. I kind of tip him to go to another big club later in his career, probably later than sooner, but I see him go. So Luiz and Pascal Gross, those are the two players in my midfield. I really love the performances, and I thought Aston Villa deserved the win in the end. Okay, to finish off the midfield, I'm going to play 2 more players. I'm going to play Alexander Zinchenko, and I'm also going to play Bernardo Silva in this game. So Alexander Zinchenko was literally very key, I would say very important for Arsenal as they were beating Everton 2-0 at the Goodson Park. He was the creative masterpiece in that game. He was the player that Arsenal were banking on to create chances, but also to eventually find something on the other end, and it eventually happened. I think he's much better in this system where he's shielded by Declan Rice and a couple of other players like Gabriel. They're understanding that he's no longer that defensive player they thought he was, and now they're giving him enough cover. He can go in front without looking over his shoulder. He was magnificent. He had a very good game. If you ask me my best performance of the weekend this weekend, I would say Bernardo and Zinchenko. Those are the 2 players that I thought were really outstanding in this weekend. So Alexander Zinchenko makes it to my team, and of course Bernardo Silva, a goal and an assist for Manchester City as they turned the result around against West Ham away from home. Man City, I still see them go unbeaten, and why I see them go unbeaten is they're literally struggling to fit in the likes of Doku, fit in the likes of Matthias Nunes, find a replacement for all these other players that have actually gone, and the injured Kevin De Bruyne, and they're actually doing it very well. So when it clicks, that is the question now. When it clicks, what is gonna happen? What happens eventually when Manchester City find their stride? What happens eventually when they become the City we know? So the one thing you love about Bernardo Silva is his ability to play almost each and everywhere. If Alexander Zinchenko was a midfielder, he would be Bernardo Silva. He's creative, he impacts games, he can play as a number 8, he's played as a number 6, he's played as a winger, as a right winger, he's played as a left winger, and he's played as a number 10 as well. In that game, I think his purpose was to make sure that Manchester City have that kind of well-greased machine, and he was kind of the serviceman, and he did it very well. The assist for Erling Haaland, pretty precise, but it takes the vision, it takes the calm, it takes the ability to do that, and I thought it was actually very good. So that is my midfield: Pascal Gross, Douglas Luiz, Alexander Zinchenko, and Bernardo Silva. A few shout-outs in midfield, players that I've actually not talked about, and I thought they deserved a shout-out. Declan Rice at Arsenal had a very good game, like very good game. I thought Dominic Szoboszlai for Liverpool in the second half was actually outstanding when Klopp actually switched things. He was actually very good. Harvey Elliott, Liverpool, when he came on, had a very good game. I was tempted to actually play him ahead of Alexander Zinchenko, but Zinchenko's role in that game was unbelievable. So those are some of the few shout-outs I would actually think about, and maybe just because West Ham lost, we cannot fail to talk about James Ward-Prowse, another another goal for him for West Ham in the Premier League. He's actually started off very well and he's going to become a key player for them. He will be a key player for them, James Ward-Prowse. So let's get to the finishing three. Let's get to the final part of the lineup. I don't have Erling Haaland this week, so definitely it's not going to be boring like you expect it to. I have Mo Salah on the right hand side. Salah was very key as Liverpool were beating Wolverhampton Wanderers at the Molineux. I think he's become a creator, hasn't he? He's one of the players that have withdrawn their responsibilities as a goal scorer and is now focusing more on how to create for the other players. I think it's working for Liverpool. It's really, really working because it's easy to take Salah out of the game as a goal scorer. You just have to put two players on him. But the more he withdraws and plays a little bit deeper and arrives later in the penalty area, and he looks to release that ball a little bit quicker than going 1v1 and trying to find the top corners and, near posts, it becomes very hard to defend against him. Against Wolverhampton Wanderers, I thought Salah was man of the match for Liverpool. He was very, very good. The chance he created for Harvey Elliott, the chance he created for, I think was Darwin Núñez, the one he missed, and the one he created for Cody Gakpo as well. He's one of those players that they have it. They literally have it. He can impact the game in any way, shape or form. If he doesn't score, he will make an assist. If he doesn't make an assist, he will make a key pass. If he doesn't make a key pass, he will make a run. This week, I was impressed with him. Left wing, Jeremy Doku, Manchester City. He has arrived. He has simply arrived. He has taken a longer time before coming to a bigger league. I think my first impression of him was in the Euros that Portugal won. That was 2016, I think, is it 2016 maybe? I think. That is the first impression we saw of Jeremy Doku. And ever since then, he disappeared. He didn't really disappear, but he didn't get that big, huge money move that we expected he would get down the years. Finally, he has it. And Pep was actually talking about it. And he said that was special. That was very, very special for a player who's actually just come into the league, just come into the team. For him to go, I can own this. I can create a moment. It was very, very, very special. And I think with Man City, their recruitment has to get a huge shout out here. One, the way they scout these players. Like Doku is not 100 million. I mean, he's cheaper than Sancho, he's cheaper than Anthony, and he's cheaper than many of these, Mikhailo Modric of this world. And you look at what he provides Manchester City with. You look at how good this guy is. He's going to be a very key player for them without Riyad Mahrez. Allows them to have that kind of width just to go and, stretch the pitch a little bit wider like Mahrez did. And then he has the ability to come onto his right or even left foot and cause damage. That's what we saw against West Ham. His goal could have been goal of the weekend until Duran scored a masterclass. To finish off the starting lineup, didn't think I would be saying this, but it's Richarlison. Richarlison, a goal and an assist for Tottenham Hotspur as they were winning it late against Sheffield United. The header is typical Richarlison. The assist is not typical Richarlison. And why I actually put him ahead of Callum Wilson. Wilson also had a very good performance. But why I put him ahead of him is that assist. You're in the 99th minute of added time. And you want one more goal. You are the striker. Instead of hitting it, he just rolls it over for Dejan Kulusevski, who takes a touch, very crucial, and finishes. So I thought Richarlison, his judgment in that game, his bravery, and the character of it's not over. Like, we've seen Richarlison give up a couple of times for Tottenham. We've seen Tottenham give up as well. Like, team of the weekend, Tottenham Hotspur. They left it late and they actually left it very, very well. So that is my team of the week. I've gone with Robert Sanchez in goal. Chelsea, he played very, very well. Tariq Lamptey, Trippier, Dunk, Gross, Luiz, Silva, Zinchenko, Doku, Richarlison, and Mohamed Salah. If you agree with me, hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast as well. If you disagree with me, the comment section is open. Who are your best 11 of the weekend? I'll speak to you right in the next one.